In relationships between men and women, communication often emerges as both the greatest challenge and the strongest bond. Many of the issues we face in relationships stem from miscommunication, misunderstanding, or the lack of effective dialogue. This creates an emotional disconnect that, over time, leads to frustration, resentment, and in the worst cases, the breakdown of the relationship. However, when communication is approached with empathy, patience, and a willingness to understand, conflict can transform into connection. The process of moving from conflict to connection, especially between men and women, requires not just the acknowledgement of differences, but the cultivation of understanding and emotional awareness that nurtures a healthier and stronger relationship. At the heart of this transition from conflict to connection lies the issue of how men and women communicate. While both genders possess the same essential human need for connection, understanding, and respect, the way in which men and women approach communication often differ significantly. These differences are not necessarily rooted in the inherent nature of being male or female, but are shaped by cultural, social, and emotional conditioning. Therefore, learning to bridge the gap between these divergent communication styles is fundamental to the success of relationships. One of the most notable differences between men and women's communication styles is their approach to listening and responding. Research in psychology has shown that women are generally more emotionally expressive and tend to engage in communication as a means of sharing their feelings and seeking emotional support. Men, on the other hand, often use communication as a problem-solving tool and may be less inclined to engage in emotional expression. This discrepancy can lead to misunderstandings where one partner feels unheard or neglected while the other feels pressured or overwhelmed. A common example of this is when a woman shares a problem with her partner and seeks validation or empathy. In her mind, the purpose of the conversation is to connect emotionally, share her feelings, and receive support. However, the man, seeing the problem, may jump into fix-it mode, offering solutions or advice, thinking this is the most helpful way to respond. Unfortunately, this can make the woman feel as though her feelings are being dismissed or undervalued. On the other hand, the man may feel frustrated or confused, wondering why his attempts to help are not appreciated. This cycle can create a growing emotional distance as both parties feel misunderstood. Understanding these differences is key to transforming conflict into connection. The first step is to recognize that the goal of communication should be to understand, not to fix or win the conversation. Both partners must learn to listen actively and with empathy. Active listening means more than simply hearing the words the other person is saying. It involves understanding the emotions behind those words and validating those feelings. This doesn't mean agreeing with everything the other person says, but it does mean acknowledging that their experience is real and important to them. For example, in the scenario where a woman is sharing a problem, the man can acknowledge her feelings first, saying something like, "I can see that you're upset, and I understand why that would be frustrating." This simple validation can go a long way in making the woman feel heard and understood. Once the emotional aspect of the conversation has been addressed, then it becomes possible to engage in problem solving if both partners are open to it. Additionally, men and women often have different ways of expressing emotions. Women may be more verbally expressive, while men may rely on actions to convey their feelings. This can sometimes lead to misinterpretations. A woman might feel disconnected if her partner does not verbally express affection or concern, while a man might feel overwhelmed or uncomfortable with too much emotional expression. Learning to appreciate and adapt to these differences is another critical step in strengthening communication in relationships. Both partners must make the conscious effort to express their emotions in ways that are understandable to the other person. Women might find it helpful to recognize that a man's silence or actions, such as making breakfast or taking care of household tasks, can be his way of expressing care. Men, on the other hand, might need to learn to express their feelings more openly and listen more attentively, especially when their partner is seeking emotional connection. Furthermore, societal expectations and traditional gender roles also play a role in how men and women communicate in relationships. From a young age, men are often taught to be strong, stoic, and independent, while women are encouraged to be nurturing, empathetic, and emotionally expressive. These ingrained cultural norms can make it difficult for both genders to step outside their traditional roles and adopt a more balanced approach to communication. Men may fear that showing vulnerability or discussing their feelings will make them appear weak, while women may feel frustrated when their emotional needs are not met in the way they expect. This dissonance can create ongoing tension and miscommunication in relationships. In psychological terms, this reflects a lack of emotional intelligence, which is the ability to recognize, understand, and manage one's emotions, as well as to recognize and influence the emotions of others. Both emotional intelligence and effective communication skills are essential for reducing conflict and fostering deeper connection in relationships. Developing emotional intelligence involves becoming aware of one's emotional triggers, learning to communicate emotions constructively, and being attuned to the emotional cues of one's partner. As both partners grow in emotional intelligence, they become better equipped to handle conflict in a healthy and productive manner. Conflict in relationships is inevitable, but how couples handle that conflict determines the quality of their relationship. One key element to managing conflict effectively is to avoid falling into the trap of blaming or criticizing. When people feel attacked, they are more likely to become defensive or withdraw, making it difficult to resolve the issue at hand. Instead, using I statements such as "I feel upset when," rather than use statements like "you always," helps to take responsibility for one's own feelings and encourages more open dialogue. By framing the issue as a shared concern rather than an accusation, both partners can feel safe enough to discuss their feelings without fear of judgment or rejection. In addition to the practical aspects of communication, there is also an emotional and psychological component that must be addressed. Emotional safety is crucial in any relationship, and both partners must create an environment where they feel secure enough to express their true selves. This involves cultivating trust, being vulnerable, and supporting each other in moments of weakness or uncertainty. When both partners feel emotionally safe, they are more likely to engage in meaningful conversations and resolve conflicts with compassion rather than defensiveness. It is also important for both men and women to recognize that a relationship is a partnership, not a competition. Both individuals bring unique strengths, perspectives, and experiences to the table, and these differences should be celebrated rather than seen as points of contention. Instead of viewing each disagreement as a battle to be won, both partners should approach it as an opportunity to learn from each other and grow together. Mutual respect and understanding should always be the foundation of the relationship, and communication is the bridge that connects the two. The transition from conflict to connection is not always easy, but it is possible. It requires patience, empathy, and a willingness to adapt. Men and women must be open to the idea that their ways of communicating may differ, but these differences do not have to create division. Rather, they can provide an opportunity for deeper connection and understanding. The more each partner works on improving their communication skills and emotional intelligence, the stronger their relationship will become. Ultimately, the key to transforming conflict into connection lies in the recognition that both partners are equally responsible for the health of their relationship. It is not about one person winning or being right, but about both people coming together to create a relationship built on mutual respect, emotional safety, and clear, compassionate communication. In this way, conflict becomes an opportunity for growth, and connection becomes the foundation on which a lasting and fulfilling relationship is built.